At long last, it's time to go beyond light in Destiny 2. Now, before I continue this commentary, I want to make everyone painfully aware that I am not a Destiny expert. I don't claim to be. I've been playing the game for about a year now. And by the time I started playing it, I think Shadowkeep was already underway for like a week or two. So I don't know all the ins and outs of... I still know some... I know some things about Destiny, but I don't really know all the ins and outs of the lore and shit like that. And I'm not going to be like pretend to be a genius when it comes to like what's going on. But what I can tell you is what I thought when I started playing the campaign portion of Beyond Light, and what I think of Europa, and what I think of the changes of content. So that's basically the point of what today's video is going to be. So without further ado, let's get it on. As far as Europa goes, I actually really like the map. I think it's very pretty. I mean, it kind of gives me a little bit of PTSD when all the snowstorms start happening because of, you know, I live in New Jersey and such, which, you know, it seems as though we're going to have a pretty mild winter so far, depending, I hope, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, Europa is a really nice map. I was wondering, like, how dynamic it was going to be in terms of terrain because, you know, for the year I was playing Destiny 2, I kind of got attached to some of the maps, or some of the planets, like, you know, like Io, like Mars, like Mercury. I really enjoyed all that stuff. I really enjoyed those maps. I mean, I wouldn't have minded if Nessus had left. I'm not really a big fan of Nessus, but Mercury I enjoyed, Io I enjoyed, Mars I liked, because I liked the Nokris mission. But yeah, I honestly... I was worried about the dynamic and what the map was going to look like and how the terrain was going to look, if it was going to be all just ice and flat, you know, flat ice and shit. But, you know, I was actually pleasantly surprised. It has some dynamic to it that I enjoy. It has a lot of nice little roads if you use your little speeder bike. You know, it has some nice turns to it. And a little bit of difficulty, of course. There's this interior part of the map when it comes to... I think I guess I'm just going to call it the Fallen Base, because that's essentially what it is. As far as Stasis goes, I actually really enjoy Stasis as a subclass as the new subclass. I think a new subclass was definitely needed when it comes to playing this game. I'm really glad that this is, and it's actually really fun to use. Stasis is, if it's one thing I can tell you about Stasis, if you haven't, you know, gotten the DLC yet, is that it's really fucking fun to use. And I only wish for the Titan that the hit detection was a little bit better. I feel like in some parts when you go to do the shoulder charge or whatever, you know, it kind of doesn't really hit the way you want it to, where the targeting is a little off. I've seen on Twitter that there's a couple of ways to fix that, but in all honesty, you know, I don't really see Stasis as something I would use for my Titan. Again, I think it's a lot of fun to use for the Titan. I'm actually leaning more towards the fact that I think Hunter would probably work a little bit better with it, for me anyway, but it is really fun to use, and it's definitely going to be ridiculous in PvP. PvE, I can imagine it being a lot of fun, but PvP, that's where the real test is going to be with Crucible and Iron Banner and such. And that's really where I'm worried. Again, I think it's a lot of fun to use, but I don't know how it's going to play in other aspects of the game. I don't know how much Bungie has play-tested this subclass in PvP matches enough where it's like, alright, this is good and it should be balanced. I mean, freezing your opponent in time for, like, until they have to click a button, to me that's a little overkill for PvP. I feel like that offers a huge disadvantage, and because of that, everyone's going to be using it, so people like me that aren't the most adept at Crucible, and I will honestly admit that, it's going to be very frustrating seeing nothing but Stasis users all around, and seeing a bunch of ice sickles and shit going across the map used as cover and such, and ways to escape. Again, I'm not, depending on the class I'm using, whether it's, you know, Titan or Hunter, I'm not the most adept at moving around, so, and knowing where the enemy is moving around, so my awareness when it comes to Crucible is absolute shit when it comes to that game. So it's going to be tough for me. I really do wonder how Stasis is going to play a factor in PvP. If you have played PvP with Stasis, please let me know what you think. and what your experience is, because I honestly don't know what to expect. I haven't tried it out yet. I only have it for my Titan. I haven't done the Hunter story yet. So, as far as the story goes, now that I mentioned about it, I actually really enjoyed the story. I thought the story was really good. It definitely, I really like the idea narratively of a struggle between two people and ideals and such. It's definitely a type of story that I greatly enjoy. One side believes one thing, the other side is the more skewed and goes to the dark side. You know, and then they think what they're doing is right, but at the same time, there really is no right and wrong way to go about this, is essentially what I'm saying. Is there's really no right and wrong way of what either side, whether it's Varix or Eris or Aramis, is doing. I mean, honestly, Aramis is perceived as the bad guy, but in a way, it doesn't really make sense what Varix is doing either. So if you have an open mind about that sort of thing, and you kind of pay attention to the narrative, it's kind of like, yeah, I know Varix is supposed to help us out, and I know Aramis is the bad guy, or bad girl in this case, as she is a female Elixni. It's just, you know, there's definitely two different sides to the story, and that's what I appreciate. In terms of the Fallen or the Elixni, I had actually no fucking clue that that's what the Fallen were, the race of Fallen that it was. Like, that's the name of the race. So, I certainly enjoyed that. It definitely gave me a little bit of lore to the Fallen. I do believe the Fallen are probably one of the more complex of the, I believe the Fallen are more of the complex, enemies that you find in the game. I mean, the Vex are probably okay. Cabal are kind of, you know, they're just a fucking army. That's essentially what it is. It's just an army, and Hive, again, are probably some of the more complex backstories and what type of classes they are and such. But I really enjoy it. I do believe, and I will say this honestly, as a fan of narrative storytelling in games, I believe that the storyline ending, which I'm going to spoil it because this is actually the last mission of the campaign, the last actual mission where you have to actually fight someone, the last boss, you know, with Aramis. I do believe the way she died was a little bit too similar to Gaul in the Red War campaign. You know, you have this power, the power ends up corrupting you, and then you pay the consequences of that. I think it's too similar. I liked the campaign up until that part. I think that part was a little bit too similar to Gaul and what happened with him, with the Traveler and such. So, again, I've been playing the game for a year. I don't claim to be a genius, and I don't claim to be a snooty person when it comes to stuff like this, but just as an outside looking in kind of idea, and just as a narrative in the game, I feel like it doesn't really offer anything different than what we've already seen, which is why I was a little bit disappointed. I do like the idea of the darkness, and I think the Ghost character is really fucking well done in this, because he's constantly worried about the Guardian, he's constantly worrying about using the dark side and such, and he's worried, and even Zavala is, you know, he's obviously upset about it, he's like, oh, you have to do what you have to do, but don't get used to it, sort of thing. And Ghost is obviously really scared, as you can tell right here in this cutscene, which, the cutscenes in this game are fucking fantastic. The cutscene with the Drifter, the Stranger, and Eris Morn, dude, that when they're fighting all those Fallen, I was like, holy shit, this is like the best cutscene in the game. Where they set up that camp in the outskirts, that cutscene was so fucking good. But yeah, and the secondhand story of the whole darkness corrupting you, and now here you can actually see that you take over that fear, and you don't let the darkness corrupt you like it did to Aramis. And it was actually, that was a really nice touch. Obviously, you knew it was coming, but obviously it's foreshadowed throughout pretty much the entire last season. I forgot what it was. I think it was like the season of Arrivals or some shit like that, that they started foreshadowing all this stuff with the darkness. And then the same thing with this campaign, with how it's foreshadowing what can happen to you. You know, Ghost, like I said, is constantly worried about you. I think his character development is really well. People hate Ghost. I don't know why. I actually really enjoy Ghost in this game, but that's just me. But yeah, And as you can see, all hell is breaking loose when it comes to Stasis. Me and Hollow, who are playing the game, we were just absolutely ripping Aramis to shreds here. We were wrecking her shit, essentially. But all in all, I mean, I haven't unlocked all the weapons yet, but I really have enjoyed Beyond Light so far. I look forward to what it's going to offer in the future. I can't say... I can't really say too much because I just haven't gotten all that experience that I want, but I did want to get this video out to give you guys basically a generalized idea of how I feel about the game and Beyond Light so far. I definitely like the new planets. I definitely like the new planet Europa, and I definitely like the setting it's in, and I like Stasis. I'm also just worried about the future of this game, as many of us are, as many people that play this game are, because, you know, with less planets, and obviously there's a lot of legacy weapons now in the game with exotics and legendaries, I think they made a good choice on that end with, you know, having other players who weren't able to get those. They were able to essentially unlock those weapons now through various currencies that are in the game. So we'll have to see how that goes. Maybe I can finally unlock Not Forgotten and a couple of other ones as well. But as we can see here, this is the ending cutscene of the fight. Aramis is corrupted by Stasis and the darkness, and, you know, again, it's too similar to Gaul, but I understand why they did it. Either way, thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you think down in the comments section below, and follow me on all the social media stuff, and check out my podcast down below as well. See you guys soon, alright? Have a good one.